We are back. It's the MLS Aces Podcast, episode 224. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. I am going to be starting off this episode with a little bit of sad, unfortunate news. I think news that to anyone in the MLS community, especially the Nashville SC community, we saw over the past week the news of Ezra Poole, the son of Travis and his wife, passed away. And I don't know really the words to say. Definitely just my heart goes out to Travis, who I've had the pleasure of having plenty of conversations with. My heart goes out to Travis, to your wife, to your family, to Ezra. And I just want you guys to know that you are stronger than you guys can even imagine. Just my heart goes out to you guys. And if you guys don't know what's going on, then Travis, who is an absolute key member to the Nashville and MLS community, his son passed away over the past weekend. You know what? All I can really say is just it's an absolute travesty. My heart goes out to you guys, and hashtag Crocs for Ezra. And there's no real good way of transitioning out of it, but your boys, Nashville SC, picked up the win for Ezra, and it was an absolute special moment to see this past weekend. Again, I don't know how to really transition well out of it, but it was an absolute huge week for MLS on the field as well. Obviously, we saw an absolute meltdown of an NYCFC Philadelphia Union match. Trainers getting red cards, fights, middle fingers, and penalty kicks. And I mean, how else how else could you want a match to go for Major League Soccer, especially between two teams who are rivals right now, fighting for top of the Eastern Conference. So an absolute craziness of a match there. We also saw an absolute crazy signing of Gareth Bale going to LAFC, not on a DP deal, which is absolutely even crazier in my mind. He's going to LAFC on a TAM deal. At the same exact time, LAFC, they bring in Giorgio Chiellini. They lock down the brand new contract, DP contract for Carlos Vela. So now LAFC's front three has a Uruguayan national starter, has Carlos Vela, has Gareth Bale, has Christian Arango, Opoku, and just a ton more talent. I think Tajori Shradi definitely deserves a shout to be just named in the entire conversation of the depth of talent that they have. And LAFC is going to be scary. I'm not going to sit here and make predictions and whatnot about what's going to go on, if they're going to win it all, whatever. But I do know that they've put themselves in a definitely a great place to win it all, to win MLS Cup, a supporter shield, and everything that goes on there. The other kind of just news note around the league that I want to mention before I get into today's interview and conversation, congratulations to Minnesota United and Adrian Heath on his contract extension. Obviously, I think early on Minnesota days, Adrian was a little bit on the hot seat, but in the past few years, he's definitely been able to prove that he is one of the more talented managers, tacticianally, in Major League Soccer. So happy to see him hang around Minnesota and the Loons a little bit more. And then the other thing that I just quickly wanted to mention is that this week I will be on the You Ain't Lying podcast. It's an FC Cincinnati podcast, the absolute best FC Cincinnati podcast out there. I'll be on there to preview the FC Cincinnati NYCFC game that is on, if you're watching this the day of the drop, that is on tonight. If you're not watching this day of drop, that was on Wednesday night. I think the final thing that I really just kind of wanted to go over, chat about before we get into the conversation for this episode, is just really a little bit of a preview for the conversation for this episode. I was able to hook up with Jason Vevang. If you guys don't know who Jason Vevang is, he is the former co-host of the MLS Aces podcast, of this podcast. Huge Chicago Fire fan. When I let him know about our guest this week, he was absolutely excited to come on, and he was absolutely excited to potentially chat with me. I was able to, really just get him on, and we are chatting with Chicago Fire manager, Chicago Fire head coach Ezra Hendrickson. I really have never been able to chat with a manager, an active manager, in Major League Soccer before. Ezra Hendrickson was more than gracious with his time to come on, chat all things Chicago Fire and stuff going on around the 2022 season. Sorry about that, but it's an absolute pleasure. I think it was a fantastic conversation. We chat about just the off-season additions, Rafael Shihas, Gaga Slonina, Gaga Slonina, and his whole kind of transfer saga and everything going on there. So it's really interesting to kind of dive deep into the minds of an MLS manager and just a manager of soccer in any type of sort. So I really do hope you guys enjoy the conversation that myself and Jason had with Ezra, and just really just the insight of what someone who's coaching at the highest level really brings to the game. So without further ado, and I will go have a coughing session after I get off mic. I want you guys to enjoy the conversation that myself and Jason had with Ezra Hendrickson, manager of the Chicago. We are back with another episode of the MLS Aces podcast, in the return of the podcast. This week, we are joined by a very special guest, the first ever active manager on the podcast, Ezra Hendrickson. Ezra, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. I'm doing fine. Could use a couple more wins, but as far as personal life and all that, everything is going well so far.
Good. And I know this week I have Jason with me. Jason isn't on the podcast every week, but he is a huge Fire fan, so I know he was excited to hop on and chat with you a little bit too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. I even put out my MLS Cup. Really fun sign back there.
That's good.
But really just to kind of dive into it, and I want to start talking about you personally a little bit, and your career and everything like that. And obviously you've been an assistant manager now for a few years within Major League Soccer under a few different systems. And you were obviously a head coach with Sounders too at the USL level. When you got the call and got the opportunity and got the job offer to manage the Fire MLS kind of first opportunity there, like what was the emotions and everything kind of going like for you?
Well, I was very excited. It was my second time ever interviewing for a head coaching position. Second time ever getting offered to come in and interview. First time was was for DC, but it was during the pandemic time, so it wasn't in person. So this was my first in-person interview that I ever had, and I was really excited. I was very happy that here's a club that thought maybe I could be the guy to help change things around. So I was very excited about that, and I went in and did what I had to do, and tried to explain to them how and why I think I would be the person to to help change the fortunes of the club and get it back to where it was once. So it was all excitement for me.
Awesome. And I know obviously you're probably not allowed to say too much about the interview process, but was there anything like unique or different, maybe that like the Fire did something different than DC or anything like that?
No, I think being in person, you kind of have more command of trying to explain, your philosophy. What is it that you bring to the table? What is it that you could bring to the organization? So I think from that standpoint, being in person, with the owner, with the sporting directors and stuff like that, it was much easier, much more relaxing for me. I'm not the most technically inclined person, so doing it over the computer, there's always little glitches and stuff like that. So you never know really if you're really reaching them, if they're really understanding what it is that you're trying to persuade them of as far as what you bring to the table. So for me, it's just a matter of being in person. In the Chicago interview, that was the big difference for me.
Okay. All right, Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess this is a little bit of a transition, but obviously with the Fire, you guys have made some pretty big signings with Shaqiri, Shabilko, Chris Mueller just came in. How do you foresee, I guess, now that you've been the coach and then going into the next off season, you'll have a full season under your belt. How do you foresee like changes being made in terms of players, I mean, obviously nothing specific, but what do you see in terms of like how is the mindset going into the throughout the rest of the season into the off season as well?
Well, for us, we want to get guys in that, one, want to be here, and two, that believes in what is that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Whenever you're trying to change a culture of a team and try to, have a mind shift, so to speak, it takes a while and it's a process, so we know that, it's going to take, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 6 months. We hope it's sooner rather than later, but it's just a matter of, evaluating everything once it's all said and done and see where it is that we need reinforcements. We're just 14 games into the season right now. We still have 20 games to play. So there's some time there to still, figure out, where it is that what it is that we're lacking and where we need the most help. But we just want to get guys in here who want to fight, who's going to go out and play hard every game. Win, lose, or draw, we always want guys who are putting in an effort. And obviously, we want guys with quality. And so, just a matter of, being patient, evaluating the whole situation and seeing what it is that we really need to go out and get, and then, go out and get that. Our owner is very ambitious. He wants to win. He's a Chicago guy that really, really wants to bring success back to the organization, to the city. So from that standpoint, the resources, I think, will be there to help us, get the players that we want to get. I mean, now we're not a LA Galaxy or one of these type of teams that has the money to just throw out there. But, we within our means, we'll do the best we can to get the right people in, so we could do what we like to do, is lift trophies. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're all about. Me as a player, as an assistant manager, that's all I know. Is winning championships. So that's what I want to bring to this organization.
I mean, go ahead, Jason.
I just had a quick follow up. Just because Joe Mansueto, he also, I think about a year ago, bought the team in, I think it's Switzerland, right? FC Lugano. Is there any communication between those two teams, or the Fire and them, or in terms of player development, or you guys are looking towards them, seeing some type of
I think there's a good connection. I mean, a lot of like the sporting director, the technical director, and these guys, even Joe and some of the people from the media, the social media, just went over to Lugano and spent like a week there. So there's a big, there's a good relation there. They just won the cup over there, so they were over there for that and just looking to see, what kind of developments we can do over there. So it's a good relationship. As far as player wise, that hasn't reached to that yet, where we're transferring players or switching players. But he owns both teams, and he'll do whatever he can to make sure that each team is successful.
Yeah. And in your last answer, you were talking about, like the identity you want to bring to the club, and I'm sure your coaching staff, want to bring to the club. And I'm sure you guys talk about that a lot. You've been underneath, as an assistant manager, underneath a lot of very legendary head coaches in Major League Soccer, right? Siggy Schmidt, Brian Smetcher, Dom Kinnear, Caleb Porter. You've been able to learn under a lot of very talented managers. Is there anything that you're bringing from your time with them that you're trying to implement into this Fire squad, and anything you're just trying to do, in your own right? Because this is your team, your blueprint now.
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination of all those guys, mainly Ziggy, because I was with him for a longer period of time as a player, and then as his assistant coach with Seattle, and then once he took the job in Galaxy. Yeah. So it's just a combination of all of those guys. The winning, the way they're, the mentality, as far as what they try to get out of their players, how to motivate players, learning, which buttons to push on which players, just, being with those guys for those all those years, it's helped me learn a lot as far as player management and the tactical aspect of it, how to prepare for an opponent and stuff like that. So, this team will be a combination of what I've learned with them and some of my own identity, some of my own, philosophical views of how I think the game should be played and how I see the game. We want to be an entertaining football team, but a big part of entertaining, especially for the fans, was winning. You know, I mean, of late, we've played better football, but the victories haven't come yet, and that's something that I want to change. That's something that I'm going to change here in Chicago, and it's just a matter of time. It'll happen.
Look, and I think like having an entertaining style of soccer, football on the field, right, is important for the fans. I think definitely, and I'm sure it's important for you guys and a coaching staff. Like me personally, I'm an NYCFC fan. I'm a New York boy, and losing Ronnie Dyla today, he's going over to Belgium. Like I'm a big Ronnie guy because like he just played a very entertaining, like very attractive, visually attractive style of soccer. Like so, I can definitely agree with you that playing that is definitely going to be important for the fans for the city of Chicago as well.
Yeah, because that's what they pay their money to see. They pay, we're on stage. We're on a stage every Saturday night at 7:30, and we're there to entertain them. However, from a coach's standpoint, yes, you want to play that beautiful soccer, but nothing better than at the end of a beautiful build-up or a route one long ball is someone tapping the ball in the back of the net. Mm-hmm. That's when that happens, then you're happy as a coach.
Exactly,
because we take our last game, for instance, playing against Toronto in Toronto. 63% possession, 33 shots on goal, and yet we come out with 0 points.
Yeah.
Now you could play entertaining like that all you want, but you got to win those games. And
the end result. Yeah.
Imagine if we're finishing some. I think we had 9 shots on goal on frame. If we finish a couple more of those, so now you get the beautiful soccer. And you get the finishing and stuff like that, and that's. But because at the end of the day, it's a result-based business, and no one cares how pretty you play. They want to know, did you win or did you lose? But you still want to entertain. But like I said previously, that the best way to entertain the fans is to come out with a W, and then everybody's happy.
Definitely what I've seen. It's a what have you done for me lately kind of business for sure. So I can definitely agree with you there.
You can't blame them. They. Times are hard and people work really hard for their money. I mean, and I'm being serious now that, when they come, they want to be entertained, but they want to leave satisfied too. And one thing I always tell the players is, listen, guys, we've had some bad breaks, be it red cards, be it, unfortunate penalty kicks or whatever. But at the end of the day, just keep putting that effort in, keep putting that effort in, keep working hard, and this will turn. So we're looking forward to, starting to back up again this weekend against DC United.
Jason, you're up, man.
Yeah. So I guess I want to kind of transition to some of the players. Obviously, you've said, it's great having an owner that is willing to, put some money in to purchase some great players. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that came in this past offseason. So it's kind of like a two-part. How does it feel for you being, as your first head coaching job, where it really seems, at least to me, like you have a great backing from the front office. And then speaking in terms of like Shaqiri, how awesome is it to have a guy? I mean, his experiences speak for themselves, his trophies, but how does he impact the locker room, and how is someone like that really changing the culture of the club?
Yeah, well, first, let's talk about the front office and the owner and their back end. They've been very great. They understand that it's going to take some time to get to where we're trying to get to, but they have belief, they have confidence that, we've put together a team that can get the job, that can get us where we're trying to get to. Last season we lost 9 players. When you lose 9 rostered players, it's not an easy fix, so we're doing our best to, get some players in and make sure we have, a formidable enough roster to compete within the league. And Joe, like I said, he's been very, very good about, making sure the resources are there to do that. You see that in going and getting Shibelko and Shaqiri and guys like that, even Torres from Mexico. So, and Chris Mueller, who's been, fantastic so far, so that the resource and everything is there, and, we'll continue to build and to fill those spots that we've lost. And then Shaq, he's a guy who's been there, done that. But what I like about Shaq is he's a coach's player. He's very helpful. He's very respectful. Even the tough times that we've been going through, we have a very young team, beyond
Yeah.
3 or 4 guys. It's, it's a 25 and under team. And he's very instrumental in helping the younger players, whenever there's a mistake, it's not, constantly drilling them. It's positive reinforcement, it's being like, hey, give me that ball quicker, or, it's very positive. It's not, where you're killing guys' confidence and stuff like that. So I've appreciated that from him. And he's just a world-class player, man. I get to see him every day in training, and some of the things that he does, and you see it on the pitch at times. It's like, wow, this is why this guy has played at the highest level, and why he has won, at the highest level. So he's been a very instrumental part of the team, and the guys that we brought in. One guy we haven't mentioned much, because defenders just don't really get that praise, so to speak, is Rafa Shields. He's been very, very good. He's our captain.
He's been incredible.
And he's been incredible for us back there, and he's paired right now next to Wyatt, who, up until this year, Wyatt hasn't really played consistently in the league, so Wyatt is kind of learning on the job also. And we have an 18-year-old goalkeeper in the goal, and so he's learning on the job too. So it's, and so Rafa's been very, very good in helping, us, back there, just, teaching the guys, and even talking to the guys in front of him. So we're continually trying to get better, trying to get the right people in. We're not going to do it in a hurry. We want to make sure that it's the right situation. It's someone like that who wants to be here, someone who sees this as a place that they want to be. So it's a process, but it's a process that we like the progress that we've seen so far.
I wanted to bring up Wyatt Omsberg because you made a very good point. This year, I feel like we're seeing a very different Wyatt. Like in previous years, maybe the consistency in play hasn't been there. But with the addition of Rafael Shields, I feel like the partnership between the two of them is just, it's very good. It's strong. It's fantastic. There's always communication. Like, has there been anything that Rafael has brought to Major League Soccer that you've seen that's allowed Wyatt to grow, or vice versa? Maybe Wyatt's teaching him something about, the way Americans are playing soccer over here, about, like how to adapt well and play within Major League Soccer.
Well, I mean, I think if you could just even look at the results, when Rafa's on the field, we don't lose that many games, and we don't get that many goals scored on. Unfortunately for us, a couple of red cards, a couple of injury issues where he hasn't played, and it's hurt us. So whenever he's on the pitch, he just makes everyone around him better. And like I said, with relatively inexperienced guys around him, an 18-year-old goalkeeper, a center back pairing that is really playing on a consistent level in the MLS for the first time in his career, a 21-year-old left back. He's been very, very good to help us. And when these guys make a mistake or whatever, he's always there. He's always the first one, to pick them up. And that's why we made him captain, because we saw that even in preseason. Carlos Terran, who was probably slated to be the starting center back next to him, had an injury all through preseason, and has been nursing injuries ever since. And Wyatt has just picked up the mantle and ran with it, and he's been our most consistent defender as far as playing. I think he's missed just one game due to COVID protocol, but Rafa's been very, very instrumental in bringing him along and helping with his consistency.
Yeah, with Rafael Shields, one thing that I feel like I've noticed just from watching or being at the games or watching on TV, it seems like he's always communicating, yelling at the other guys, even like you said, the people, the guys in front of him, especially Slonina and goal. It just seems like when he's out there, there's a different level of confidence, just on the back line, but throughout the field. Do you see that similarly, or?
Yes, definitely. He definitely brings a calm to the team. When we started off the year, and even though Wyatt hadn't played much, and we had a relatively inexperienced back five, so to speak, he was that calming figure. He was that guy with the experience who just talked the game, who communicated. He's an extension of the coaching staff on the pitch, and that's why he's our captain. He is a leader. And he's been very influential in the way we play. When we play well, he's there, and he's someone that, we're very happy to have, but now we just need to be a little more consistent, stop shooting ourselves in the foot, so to speak. We've talked these past 2 weeks just about, guys, if you look at these last 4 games, let's just put away the rest of the season. Just look at these last 4 games, possibility of 12 points, and we come out with 1. And if you look at the way it turned out, first Cincy at home, an own goal and a late giveaway, to lose that game. Then we go to the Red Bull, which is a very, very difficult place to play. We go up 3-2 in the 89th minute and find somewhere to give up a goal, and we tie that game. And then we go to New York, NYCFC, defending champions, also a difficult place to play, just the pitch being small and them just being a very good team.
Yes.
And barring a questionable PK call on a handball, we get out of there with a 0-0, And then to top it off, we go to Toronto, and we finally feel like, okay, we're putting it together. Even at halftime, we're down. We still think, okay, we can do this, because we had the better of the play. We go out, put together a masterful second half, but found some way, to lose that game after going up, twice. So, it's been, I don't know what you want to call it, like learning the job for a lot of the guys. But, we're seeing better play. We're seeing a progress in the way we're playing. We're seeing guys out there fighting, working hard. And if we just cut out some of these silly mistakes, get on the good side of the refs, stop getting some of these PK calls, I think we'll be right there, But, as far as confidence-wise and keeping the guys confident, what we've said to them is just, guys, if you just look at the last 4 games alone, possible of 12 points, we gotten 1. And most will say we deserve minimum 7 points out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely we don't lose that one in New York. And you're not going to have 33 shots in too many games and lose that game, So that's 6. And then we tie that one at home against Cincy, So minimum 7 we should get, but we only get 1. And these are the things we have to learn as a team, how to finish out games and how to not just shoot ourselves in the foot. But I think, by keeping them confident and keeping the mentality right, I think we'll turn the corner. And like I said, hopefully sooner rather than later.
And I mean, I think that's a very good point, right? I think you guys have a young squad, and I think as these kids begin to play more and more and get more experience, the consistency will be there. The consistency will grow, because a lot of these, I'll call them kids. I don't really get to say kids often, but a lot of these kids are super talented, and you can see that in flashes and in moments. And I think just kind of piecing that consistency together is really what you guys are looking for and need. And I think it's coming. I like to think it's coming.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's one of the tricky things about younger players, is how can you find that consistency? How can you get Guti to show up every game like he did in Orlando before he gets the red card? I mean, I thought he was having a masterful game there. How do you get these guys who are so talented, as you said, to be consistent? We have a guy, John Duran, who he's coming off the bench now. How can we get him to be consistent? Because these guys, their ceilings are high,
ridiculous,
extremely high. But it's how do you get them to get there and stay there, not so much of an up and down. There's going to be, the young players, there's going to be a little bit down, but make sure your lows aren't too low and your highs, are highs as they can be. It's a trick for a manager, and a manager, it becomes really, really tricky, but we'll get them there.
Well, speaking of one of your talented youngsters, Gaga Slonina, I don't want to ask anything specific about transfers, but obviously as an American soccer fan, you see the big name clubs of like Bayern, Chelsea, Wolverhampton, Real Madrid calling. Again, not asking anything specific about that, but I'm sure that comes into the locker room. Do you see Gaga like handling the stress of a situation like that well? He seems, to be playing well as of late over his last few games. So do you see like maybe the potential transfer stress being handled well? And is anyone in the locker room, like yourself and the other coaching staff, kind of helping him through moments like this?
Yeah, he's not a normal 18-year-old as far as his maturity. His physical attributes, but I'm talking his mental capacity. He's very mature for his age, and he has to be, playing that position, because a lot of the young players, let's say Aguti or Duran or Navarro, they could make a mistake and it doesn't lead directly to a goal. If he makes a mistake, it leads directly to a goal. So he has to have that, strong mentality, being the position that he plays, and he has that. It can be a little distracting. with some of the the attention that's from the
Mm-hmm.
Madrid, the Chelsea, and stuff like that. But I think he's handled it well. Aiden Brown, who's our goalkeeper coach, does a really really good job. Just to keep him level-headed.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. If you're 18 years old and Real Madrid comes calling, it's easy for you to lose sight of, okay, you got to make sure you take your business here before you get there, So
Yeah.
I think Aiden's done a good job with that. And we have, good guys in the locker room, the Johnny Bernsteins and guys like that, make sure that these young kids, stay at bay and stay within, their own heads. So
No, for sure.
He's been good.
Jason.
He's been very, very good mentally.
Good. That is good to hear, especially again from a USM&T fan point of view. It is good to hear that he's staying good. But Jason, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So I mean, additionally with Slonina and as well as there's a lot of young guys, like you said. How is it like for a goalkeeper too, being 18? There's a lot on his shoulders. How is it going into practices every week? I mean, even I think it's Chris Brady is also 18, right? And he's the backup or potentially the backup.
He may be 17 actually.
Oh,
Chris may be still 17.
but what's it like having so many guys like homegrowns and young players on your squad? And obviously, there's some older players like Bornstein, Shaqiri, even, and they probably help. It sounds like they help a lot. But just coaching these guys up, giving them positive reinforcement, is that more difficult, or is it a fun challenge for you and the coaching staff?
It's challenging at times because I said the consistency is sometimes not there, and you wonder how could you be so good for 20 minutes and then fall into a lull for another 10 minutes, and stuff like that. But I think my 3 years with Sounders 2 helped me because a lot of these guys, the Nuhus and the Dilems and these guys, were 17, 18-year-old kids at the time, and so I learned a lot from working with S2, being the head coach there for 3 seasons. So it helped me understand better how to deal with young players and knowing that there's going to be some inconsistencies, but if you see improvement and if you see the progress, then it's worthwhile. And like I said, some of these guys have really, really high ceilings.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge for us as a coaching staff to make sure that these guys achieve, their potential. It's going to take a lot from them. They have to buy into what's being taught to them. But for the most part, most of the guys are very, they're sponges. They're very receptive to what it's being taught to them. So we're expecting great things from these young players.
If we see Slonina get transferred out anytime soon before the season and he doesn't come back to the roster, would Chris Brady be the next guy up? Spencer Ritchie? I know, obviously Ritchie's been around as a veteran within US soccer. Do you see either of them kind of having a leg up? Or I think even Brady might be gone for U20, U20 World Cup right now too. So I'm sure there's a lot going on in your brain right now about tactics and who's filling in where.
Yeah, well, we would like to, keep him, even if that process does go through. But if not, I think we've done enough research and we've brought in the right, people to, in case we lose him, which we knew from the beginning would be a possibility, that we have in Ritchie and Brady, efficient deputy goalkeeper, so to speak, backups. And it would be a matter of competition, for them too. I think Aiden does a really good job of training these guys every day. And I think either one would be able to go right in and do the job because, Ritchie, he's been in the league for a while now. He's a very good goalkeeper, and Brady's another, Slonina in the making. So, so I think we'll be okay from that standpoint.
Sounds good. Jason, do you want to go into the next question?
Yeah, I have a question that you didn't type up, Tom. But there's on YouTube, the Fire have this series called No Little Plans. I'm probably aware of it. But I feel like that gives a really good. I obviously watch it. I have my parents watch it. That gives a really good example, I think, for me in terms of the culture you're trying to build, the personalities of the staff and the players. It seems like everyone has a pretty good time with that. Is that something that you guys look forward to, those episodes, or giving a little bit to the fans to show the culture that you're building and in how everything's fitting together?
Yeah, I think, we have a very good social media department. These guys, they do a really, really good job of capturing, specific moments. It may be a team talk, maybe just the guys hanging out at lunch or whatever it is, or on the field stuff, trainings, whatever it is. And so it's a way for us to, let the fans kind of get a sneak peek. It's, I don't know what it's called in NFL. They have this thing during preseason. It's something similar to that, where the cameras are there at preseason in NFL. I don't know what it's called.
Hard Knocks. Yes.
Like but it's something kind of along that line where the fan can get a sneak peek as to what goes on a daily at practice, or sometimes it's been position specific. They've done the equipment managers, the trainers. They've done specific with the assistant coaches. Myself, there's always a focus to just kind of give the fans an insight as to us, our personality, and like you said, the culture that we're trying to build here with the organization. Because one of my promises to the ownership when I interviewed for this job is that I am the right person to get this team back to where it belongs. And I told them it's not going to happen overnight. There has to be some patience there, but just trust that I will get this team back to where it belongs, and we're seeing signs of it, not consistently enough for my liking, but there's progress there, and that's what we're trying to see.
Well, Ezra, I want to ask about you really quickly in your career. Obviously, you kind of hinted at it before. You won a lot as a player. You won 3 MLS Cups, 3 Supporter Shields between the Galaxy, DC, Columbus. You played with the early stars of Major League Soccer. When you first got into the league, and even well into your playing career within MLS, did you expect, or would you have expected Major League Soccer to kind of be where it is now globally? Because I feel like Major League Soccer is kind of now carving out its nice own little niche within the global market. Did you expect that, or could you have seen that back then?
Well, you always hoped for it, but there was a period of time there from, I think, when it from 98 to 2001, when it was 8-10 teams, that it kind of stalemate. It was wow, you're gonna grow, so there was that worry there. But I think we had enough owners and enough people in New York working in the front offices that had the competence to really see the league grow. And I think the commission has done a great job. Of now we're at 27, 28 teams. So I knew that the people working behind the scenes wanted to make sure that the League One lasted and the league became successful and it grew. And so you always hope as a player that, those people stuck around, and didn't, get impatient. And so I'm glad for all that, some of these owners like the Anschutz and these guys stuck around and really kept the league afloat when it was going through, the dark, days. And so now we're here, it's growing, and now we got to worry about capping it now. That maybe it's too watered down, because it's growing so fast, and so it's in good hands, and that's good to see, and that's good to know, and that I'm happy to have been a part of this league for 25 years now.
And we are glad to have you a part of the league. But 1 or 2 more questions for you, Jason. Your final question.
So I guess moving on to some international. You played for St. Vincent and the Grenadines in CONCACAF. You played in Mexico, against Mexico. You played in Cuba. What do you think, as USMNT fans, we're very familiar with the CONCACAF structure and the difficulty of going into into Mexico, into the Azteca and playing there. How is it your experience and what you see, today? What makes CONCACAF such a unique region and such a competitive region?
Well, I think the MLS has helped that because a lot of the players in the MLS are from, Costa Rica or Panama or Mexico, or some of the Caribbean islands, Canada. So it's helped. The league has helped, improve players. So now the players are getting better, which makes in turn their national teams better, and just makes the whole region more competitive. So it's kind of catch-22 for the US, because now you really making players better to come and play against you and to beat you, So, but it's good for the region. I think it's really, really good, and hence we got a World Cup coming in 4 years in the region, because I think FIFA understands the growth of football in the area. But, it's always was difficult for me as a player to go into Mexico or even Honduras, where it's loud noises outside your hotel room all night, even though you're a peon compared to Mexico or Honduras. There's still, gamesmanship, outside. Maybe it's a siren going off, maybe it's a fire alarm, whatever have you. Even though they're playing against St. Vincent and the Grenadines, anything to get an advantage, it was done. And so those were always, going to Honduras where the grass is like 4 inches high, and, stuff like that. San Pedro Sula, so it was always fun for me. But the way the game is growing in the region and how competitive it's becoming, this Nation League thing, again, another catch-22, because now you're putting more mileage on players throughout the year, more games. But when does a Montserrat get to play against a Canada, for instance, if you don't have that Nations League? When does St. Lucia get a chance to play? When does Grenada get to play against the USA? How does a Grenada get to go to a Gold Cup if they're not getting a chance to qualify for it? So it has its ups, it has its downs, but I think overall it's helping the competition, it's helping the region become more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think the Nations League, I think there are some critics of it, but I think overall being able to give soccer more of an opportunity just to be played in general and understanding how we qualify for Gold Cup. Okay, what does Gold Cup mean for the next stages? It just kind of gives CONCACAF just a structure of more games, more competition, better competition, growth, all that fun stuff. But like you said, there is a catch-22 in there.
Yeah, because if all you see is the Mexico and the Canada and the US in the Gold Cup, maybe there's gonna be a Grenada in there,
exactly.
Some team, Belize or some team is gonna, get an opportunity to just be on the stage, and help give these players in these, smaller countries some hope, so they train harder, so they can be like, wow, if Grenada could be in the Gold Cup and be on ESPN, I want to train hard so I could, maybe take St. Vincent to the Gold Cup one day and stuff like that, So
exactly,
it gives hope for all the players in the region, not just the bigger nations.
Do you see, I mean, is there anyone on St. Vincent and the Grenadines right now we should be paying attention to? I don't know your relationship or connection with the FA.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with too many young players because that's a very young team. That's a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds, But one guy I did bring up to the Sounders too, Olex Anderson. Who went on to sign for the first team, but he had some injuries. He came when he was so young. He's still just now 25, 26.
Is he really?
And this was some 7 years ago. He's a player that, he's playing in the League One right now. He's a player that's still, fast as just very good player. He's someone that, we've been keeping an eye on. He's a very good player playing down in North Carolina now. So
okay, awesome. Well, I have one final question for you. This is a listener question from Michelle Giannone. Michelle asked, is there any plan to switch the formation now that Jairo is fully available? He said that his best season at Atlas came when he was playing the 8 in a 4-3-3. Where do you kind of see, the formation going with Jairo and now, I guess, him and Shaqiri fitting together?
Yeah, well, I think we may tinker with the lineup some as far as the formation, but as of right now, we're going to stick with the 4-2-3-1. The way we played in Toronto, with Jairo on the right, Chris on the left, Shabelko up top with Shaq, they're playing the 10. Because we think, with that formation, we've done some good things, and it's just a matter of now finishing some of these chances, and stop giving up leaking goals in the back. But I think the formation, and it best suits our midfielders, the two pivots we have in Navarro and Gaston. I think that formation best suits them rather than a 3 in the midfield. So we'll stick with this for now, but, we're a flexible staff. I'm a flexible coach. And, like I said, it's all about W's or L's. And, if you have to tweak some things to, get some W's, then we'll do that. But for now, we think we're going to stick with this for the time being.
Okay, totally fair. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was Ezra Hendrickson. Ezra, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
I know, absolute pleasure to speak with you. And if you ever want to hop back on for whatever reason you do, you're always more than welcome to come back.
Well, you know how to connect with me now. So just hit me up whenever you're ready and I'll come back on and chat with you guys. It's been a pleasure. Good. I enjoy, talking to you guys and all the best.
Thanks, you, Ezra.